Hey friends! Last week I was invited to a private screening at the Screen Actors Guild of Spike Lee's Chiraq, and there was a talk back with Spike Lee afterwards, and after tweeting and Snapchatting about it, I got lots of requests to do a review, so here it is. Now I have to do a little disclaimer before I get started. When I talk about media and celebrities, Spike Lee and this film for example, that critique and constructive feedback is not a critique of you if you are a fan of that celebrity or that piece of media. It's okay if you liked this movie or if you absolutely love Spike Lee, I promise I will not think less of you. Alright. So let's jump into the review. If you don't know about the film Chiraq, it is about gun violence in Chicago. It's a modern day interpretation of the Greek comedy Lysistrata by Aristophanes, and Lysistrata is about a woman by the name of Lysistrata who devises this plan to stop the ongoing war by holding a sex strike with all the women in her town. The thinking being that if they withhold sex from the men, they will have to stop fighting and accomplish peace because they all want to get laid. And that's exactly what happens in Chiraq. There is so much gun violence, and the name comes from a play on the word Chicago and Iraq because more people have died from gun violence in Chicago than have died in the entire war in Iraq. This film stars Teyonah Parris. You might know her as Dawn on Mad Men. She was also in Dear White People, and she is an absolute vision. And I use the word vision because holy crap, have you seen this woman? She is so gorgeous. Her talent is just so undeniable. She's a Juilliard trained actress, and you know, not to shit on the movie yet, but some of the dialogue left some things to be desired, but Teyonah Parris really had an ability to just make you want to listen to what she had to say, and it was just so believable and engaging, and that just really spoke to her talent as an actress. Angela Bassett was amazing, but what do you expect? She's Angela Bassett. I honestly wish that her part was bigger. I felt like she was underutilized and was more of a supporting character than a main character, but she was really incredible. Samuel L. Jackson kind of played like the narrator or the chorus in the film, and you know, Samuel L. Jackson is pretty awesome and hilarious. The rhyme scheme really worked in his favor and made some of his lines just so funny. I really found myself laughing out loud for a lot of his speeches, and yeah, he was really great. Dave Chappelle was also in the film. He had a really tiny part. I would say he was in the movie for about 2 minutes, but they were hands down the funniest 2 minutes in the whole movie, which made me think, damn, why isn't Dave Chappelle in more of the film? Visually, the movie was beautiful and really interesting to look at. There's a great scene at the very beginning that takes place in a nightclub where the entire club is dancing in sync, but it doesn't feel like choreography. Like everyone is kind of putting their own spin on it, and it's like purple and just like, it's just so cool to look at and visually interesting. I also have to say that this was really an ambitious subject to take on. Gun violence is an important ongoing conversation, and Spike Lee really tried to tackle it in a creative way with like a modern spin and satire, and you know, even though I didn't love the film, I do have to give him props for kind of tackling something so big in a 2-hour film. Like, that's no easy feat. My one big criticism of the film is that it lacked subtlety. Now, I know that it is a satire, and I understand what satire means and is supposed to do, but it really kind of like hit you over the head with it, you know? I felt like the film was saying, you know, was trying to have this deep message about gun violence, and instead it was saying, we have a message! Does everyone see the message? The message is right here! And I don't think that that's what a film should do. For example, there was one song in the film that the lyrics to the song were, I don't want to die. Like, stop killing each other. We're dying in the streets of Chiraq. And it was just, okay, we get it, but it was just so literal. You know, I felt like they should have let the audience interpret some things for themselves, and instead they really spelled everything out. And on top of that, the film was really long. It was 2 hours long. Spike Lee does tend to be a little long, and I would be okay with that if there wasn't so much of the film that I felt they could have cut. It was just so long. It just went on for a really long time, and I was sitting there thinking like, when is this gonna be over? You know, and I don't think you should feel like that in a film. After the film, there was a talk back with Spike Lee, and I had a question because you know me, I've got questions and they need to be answered. And my question was, why did the film ignore / dance around the subject of sexual violence? And trigger warning, I'm not going to explicitly talk about rape, but I'm going to acknowledge the existence of it in a way that Chiraq did not. The film is about sex and violence, and yet no one ever acknowledges the existence or threat of sexual violence, sexual assault, or more specifically, rape. Instead, the film kind of winks at it. Little things like Lysistrata makes the women take a vow to abstain from sex, and in it she says, if he forces you on that conjugal couch, resist. Forces you on the conjugal couch? That sounds like rape. Another scene takes place after the sex strike when every woman in Chicago has said that they're not going to have sex, and you see Nick Cannon having sex with a woman, but it sounds like she is being raped. She is screaming bloody murder. I mean, it is like blood curdling, and Nick Cannon has a gag in her mouth trying to keep her from screaming. And again, this takes place after the sex strike, and all the men are complaining about how no one will have sex with them, and then this is the scene that we cut to. The inference is that she's being assaulted, but then it's later revealed that she's not. There were other little things like the women wear chastity belts, and then the men say that they have the keys and they're going to demand that they unlock them, and so they sneak into the armory where the women are stationed and they say like, we're gonna take back what's ours, and the women say no, and then the guys say okay, and they just walk away. It was just very strange to me. And then there's a scene where there's demonstrations all around the world of women participating in the sex strike, including India, and I'm thinking, how strange that you specifically showed India, where there is tons of stories about women and young girls being raped in public in India, and yet your film is about a sex strike where there's no threat of rape. And anyways, I asked the question more succinctly than that, and Spike Lee just got a huge attitude with me. His response to me was, did you watch the film? And I said, yes, I did. I watched the whole thing. I just watched it. So, can you answer my question? Thanks. And his response was that the scene with Nick Cannon and the girl, who I thought was being raped, and lots of people thought she was being raped initially, goes into a flashback where he sees the first time he learned about sex was he walked in on his mother having sex, and it also sounded like she was being hurt. So he went in the room thinking something was wrong, and then, you know, she shushes him out, and Spike Lee's explanation was that that scarred Nick Cannon's character and changed how he thought about sex and women for the rest of his life. To which I responded, okay, but that doesn't answer my question, because that was not sexual assault or sexual violence, and the film still did not address the existence of sexual violence. Look, we don't even have a sex strike going on, and people are getting raped every single day. So how do you have a film about sex and violence and you don't acknowledge sexual violence? Like, what are you doing, Spike Lee? And what was so infuriating to me is that Spike Lee's attitude was, how dare you question me? We're at a talkback. That was the purpose of this event, was to talk to you. So I'm asking you a question, not because I'm upset. I mean, honestly, I still don't love the film, but if he had answered my question, I feel like I would have felt better about why he made the choice, but he never answered the question. He went on the defense, and he even said to me, well, so you're just gonna ignore that the film has 3 strong black women? Which again, you know, I would argue that Jennifer Hudson's character is strong. She kind of is like, you know, the distraught mother of the whole film, but you know, having 3 strong black women in the film does not excuse the fact that you ignored like a very real issue. And I said, as a survivor of sexual assault, I wish that I would have appreciated it being addressed, or at least not danced around, because again, I really felt like the film was kind of rapey, and that really bothered me. And someone in the audience, this is what I'm talking about by fan babies, someone in the audience was like, why don't you make the film yourself? And I'm just thinking, well, how do you know that I'm not writing film, miss? We're at an industry event, an invite-only Screen Actors Guild event. This is a room full of people in the business, myself included. My friend is a writer for film and television. How dare you assume that I can't ask a question without making a film about an issue myself? Like, this is a talkback. That is the purpose of being here. It was just bizarre. And then afterwards, tons of women came up to me and thanked me for my question. Someone even passed me a note that said, you know, great question, I can't wait to see your film someday. And, you know, it was a positive experience, but then I had a line of 4 dudes who felt the need to mansplain to me what Spike Lee meant and why the film didn't address sexual assault, and I was just like, what is going on? They were literally like, that was a really nice question and I really respect you and you know what you've been through, but I think what you didn't understand about Spike Lee is that, you know, they had already filmed the movie so they couldn't add that in there, and I'm just thinking, dude, I asked Spike Lee to answer the question and he could have answered it. If Spike Lee had said, you know, I didn't think that the film needed it, that's not what it was about, so we didn't include it, I wouldn't have agreed with him, but I would have said, okay, cool, you answered my question. But he didn't do that. Then what I found out afterwards is that Spike Lee, in an interview on Stephen Colbert's Late Night Show, said that he believes that a sex strike could work in real life, and that if women on college campuses had a sex strike, it would stop sexual harassment and date rape. I'm so glad that I did not know about that quote when I was at the screening, because I would have popped all the way off. Okay, let's break this down. A sex strike means we're not having consensual sex. Date rape, sexual assault, rape, sexual violence is sex without consent. So you're telling me that if women stopped consenting to sex, then men would not try to have non-consensual sex with them? That does not make any sense. P.S. Saying, no, I don't want to have sex with you has literally not stopped people from raping other people. And I'm using people specifically because sexual assault happens between same-sex couples. Men can be victims of sexual assault as well. Women can be perpetrators of sexual assault. And then, of course, everyone in between, because gender is not binary. Spike Lee, this pains me. Honestly, it does. I don't want to beat up on Spike Lee. I am a fan of his work. Crooklyn is like one of my favorite movies of all time, but it is really messed up to suggest that something like this could work, not to mention the fact that it puts the onus on women in this instance, because he's saying women take a vow against sex. It puts the onus on us to prevent rape. Why don't we talk about consent and actually talk about educating men, women, and everyone in between on what consent actually means? Because unfortunately there are people who don't understand the bounds of consent, and that's a problem. And a sex strike is not going to fix that, Spike Lee. It's just not. Whew. And let me just clarify here, because it seems some people on Twitter were really confused by my question. Asking why the film does not acknowledge the existence or threat of sexual violence is not saying that I want to see a woman get raped on film. Not at all. You can acknowledge a threat without showing the threat. So I felt like it could have been solved with something really simple, just like a line with one of the women saying, you know, but what if someone tries to rape us? Or when the guys do the standoff with the women and say, we're gonna take back what's ours, one of the women could have like challenged them and it's like, oh, is that a rape threat? You know, to kind of like shut them down and maybe make them realize the gravity of what they were saying and how it sounded. Honestly, I don't really have a solution. I asked the question because I wanted to know if there was a reason that he ignored it, and I really think that Spike Lee is a smart and creative guy, so I think he could have figured out a way to address sexual violence in a film all about sex and violence. In summation, I closed out my 2015 with an argument with Spike Lee, and wouldn't change a single minute of it. I would say that I would give this film a solid C-. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it was not good. It was not a good film, and that sucks because I think Spike Lee is a smart and talented guy, albeit a little cocky and rude to his fans. He was honestly, I don't take it personally because he was rude to everybody in the audience. Even people who praised the film, he was rude to them. He was rude to the guy interviewing him. He didn't even look at him the entire time. It was just bizarre, and I think that his defenses are up because people have really ragged on this film. A lot of people don't like it, especially residents of Chicago, and I don't blame them because it takes a really important issue and puts a comedic spin on it that really does not address the issues. And I get it. Like, I understand why people don't like the film. I didn't hate it, but I do think that my interaction with Spike Lee made me dislike the film more. Would I encourage you to watch it? I would say wait till it hits Amazon. This is Amazon's first feature film, so it will eventually be online. I would save your money. So have you seen the movie Chiraq, or have you decided to not see it, or are you planning on seeing it? Let me know in the comments below because I would like to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you when I see you. Bye!